Everyone. Okay, so I was just taking a break, and now we're continuing the second part where we're going to pin this heart all together, and then we're going to stitch it, and then we're going to, if we have time, we're going to machine stitch it, free form stitching. So we're just got my coffee with me. And if you have a needle and thread or you have your pins and you're working right along with me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with running stitches. And I just want to get some of these visible stitches in place so that they're doing two things. They're adding to the decor of the heart fabric to the base. So those, we want to do that. And I'm liking this. Here, I'm going to put this down and turn the heart around. And then after we get these stitches in place, then we will turn it around and we will trim it. This is going to be beautiful, really nice. You know, the other thing you can do too is you can always add other decor like beading. If you do beading, you can add that in here. Also, you could put a button. You could put buttons in here. So we have our hearts. And as I go along, I'm going to be making sure. I really do want the hearts on an, oops, the air just went off. So I really do want the hearts at an angle. So let's see, like that. I want them to go different ways. I really want it to go actually like on its side almost. So I'm just kind of giving it a look over once here. I'm so glad that you're with me today. And you know, this is, you know, when you make these little mug rugs like this, and especially this, like this heart, and it's special. It's handmade by you. It is recycled to help the earth, and it's something that can be a keepsake. So, oh, that coffee is good after a while there. So, okay, we're going to continue to pin these. I try to just do groups at a time because I want to be able to sew. Like for here, I'm putting the pin down here. I want to be able to maybe sew a few stitches up like that. Now this part of the heart, look at all of that. I'm not crazy about this yellow as I'm looking over it. I love yellow, but there's certain yellows that I love. But this again, it's scrap. So maybe it pops a little bit. Yeah, that's better. So sometimes it's not just the color, but it's the shape, it's the design. You play around with it. So we're gonna get these pins in. This is beautiful. This one I'm a little beautiful. This one I'm a little want to make sure everything's covered. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something as we go along. The other thing you're going to notice is when you're doing, this is why I love to do the sashiko stitching first. First of all, I love the look of it. I love the look of it. It's humble. It's, I don't know, I can't even explain it. It just does so much for me. Really, I can't explain it. But when you're you're stitching, what happens is your fabric tends to move. It just does, it moves. And if you're stitching freeform on the machine, guess what? It moves. It moves. That's what's going to happen. So as we go along, there's a particular fabric, linen. When you stitch that, it might fray a little bit more. It might pull over on this side, whatever. Certain fabrics, well, if they have elastic, none of these have elastic. Guess what? This is all cotton. This is 100% cotton. Now, I don't know if I've ever accomplished such a feat because I usually have many blends, but I've been scouting out more cottons because people just like cottons more. They just do. And it's organics that they like. But anyway, as you're sewing along, what's going to happen is parts of this will pull. So the spacing is naturally due to tension. It will change. It just will. And you may find yourself with a space of denim showing. It's totally fine. The beautiful thing about crazy quilting, Boro inspired, Kawandi inspired, you can add your patches, you can add fabrics. And think of it like mending. You're adding to cover a space, or you're adding to reinforce a certain area in your piece. Oh, this is upside down. Let's see. I really love this heart. This is very nice. I made a quilt of all hearts for the refugee, for the blanket project, which gave the refugee center down in Burlington some free blankets. I did 2 blankets. I did one with hearts, Boro inspired with hearts. This is Crazy Quilt with hearts. And then the other one was I think it was a yo-yo quilt. And I've made so many things now, I'm starting to actually forget where what went when. Okay, so I'm going to leave this on the table as I start stitching. I'm not going to pick it up and try to put it in my lap. I'm not going to put it in a hoop. That's not what this is. This is not embroidery. And so you don't put it in a hoop. You want the natural flow and tension of the fabrics. You want the natural fabrics to the tension. You don't want to manipulate the tension, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So we're gonna put these over here. I'm trying to make this table look pretty, and it doesn't. It's not going to my fabrics. So I'm going to use the pink. I'm going to start with the pink. And here's another one of those flowers. This is one of those fabrics. I tell you what, this even looks retro to me. And I know it's 100% cotton tightly woven, but I don't know. I can't tell you for sure this is retro. I can't. The design is, but I don't know if it's a true vintage or not. So anyway, this is gorgeous though. I want to do one piece of that in just sashiko stitching. So now we're going to stitch our needles, and you do just an arm's length. You know you have a lot here to do, but if you do longer than an arm's length, it will tangle. Trust me. Tangle. You will be doing the tango with the tangled thread. You don't want to do that. So, okay. And I'm going to use, I have 3 needles here, and I like a wide-eyed needle, but I don't want it too blunt. I want to be able to go through these fabrics with some ease. So I'm using a medium-eyed needle. And if I feel it's too blunt, I'm going to switch. I picked my 3 favorite needles. So hopefully hopefully that goes through beautifully. And usually cotton on denim, it should. Cotton on denim. So let's start getting these in place. And let's see, you can see there. And I just want to lift this up a little bit. See, this is your backing. You see here how the fabric is just over the side. Leave it. Don't try to cut it before you sew. Let it hang over the side and sew first. And you can just kind of go like this because you just want to get some stitches in here and start getting this fabric adhered. And if you want to do a running stitch going all the way around, you can do it that way. That might be a nice way to secure your edging and in a nice methodical way to get these secure. So, and just kind of see where you're at. And just do a few run. This needle feels a little thick to me. So I'm going to do this run with it, but then I'm going to switch it out. I may not have picked up my really skinny needles. My sashiko, actually my sashiko needles are the best. Let's see here. I thought that was this might be the needle. We'll see how this one does. See, I'm using pink. I'm going to leave that there. You see how things shift when you go along. That's just the way it is. If they're shifting too much and that's a bother to you, just put more needles. And just when, and this is something to be aware of. See my little flower I made? That shifted, and look what it did. It covered up the tip of the top of the flower. So I'm just moving it. Beautiful, beautiful. So you just continue. And this is in real time. So we're going to go as far as we can today. And like I said, if I can't, I brought my sewing machine. I think we're going to get to the sewing machine. Because I'm not doing this in what they call an over stitch. So let me explain that for just a moment. Over stitching, over stitching would be like these running stitches right here. These running stitches, and then I'm doing horizontal, and then I'm doing vertical, and I'm doing that through the whole thing, and I'm doing them really, really close. Now I've shown you pieces where I've done that. That's over stitching. So that's what we're not going to do that with this. What we're going to do with this is we're going to do closer to a cantha stitch, which if you in my last video I was explaining cantha. This is cantha right here actually. So cantha is you've got the stitch and then the space between the stitches is larger than the stitch itself. Cantha, and it's a running stitch. It's Eastern India, originates there, and it's a beautiful stitch. So we're going to kind of be working along those lines with this heart, because if we overstitch it and then we put it in the machine and do freeform stitching, it's going to lose its effect. And we want to see the visible stitching, but we want to see the freeform stitching. So we want to do moderate of each type of stitching. So, and you don't have to do the machine stitching. If you want to just do the hand stitching, the effect is just as beautiful anyway. So we're going to continue stitching. And really what we're doing here is this is your small, this is what they call a small. running stitch. So it's one stitch after the other. And it's not free form sashiko because it's not going like in a different direction every time you put the needle through. That's free form sashiko stitching. So, and I'm just paying attention to the back of my heart here. Okay, I'm paying attention as I stitch around. So what some people do is they turn the piece completely around and they do the stitching on the back. And that is not unusual. You will see that in sashiko stitching. You will see even a grid on the back. And they will follow from the back of the base and stitch. And it's not a mirror effect at all because it's going to be the same on the back as it is on the front. You're going to get your beautiful design as you follow it on the back. That's what you're going to get on the front. It's really beautiful. This is lovely. I love the pink. You see the pink, you see the pink popping with the black and white checkers, and that's so classy. That's a classic design. And look, we put the heart over here in that. Oh, we got to pin that heart. We don't want to lose that. So we did that, and then we've got our sunflower. And this is not planned. It's the impromptu. It's the creating on the dime that I think, especially with recycled fabrics, that's when things pop. And they pop because they're not things you would normally put together. You just would not come up with some of these combos. Especially like this orange coral. I love orange. But no, I tell you what I love. I love pink coral, purple coral, red coral. I do like the orange coral. This is orange coral. This has a hint of pink, and you can see it almost flowing with the pink thread right there. It's beautiful. It's just simply beautiful. So now I'm going to try to get back into my sashiko running stitch because I slowed down over here because I was going down there. And now I'm coming back up and I'm getting a feel for where the edge is here. And I feel like I can move a little bit better. This is a little bit heavier needle than I thought I chose. And you can see it kind of doesn't flow the way thinner needle would flow. And if you look in the store, well, anyway, Walmart, they have so many different types of needles, machine needles for the sewing machine, sewing needles for sewing, wide-eyed, darning, sashiko, they got them all. And I tighten these a little as I go. That is what makes it so you can work with raw edges. Now, in your basic quilting, if you want to be truly traditional and you want to stay with the Western concept, you certainly can fold these pieces in underneath. It's not necessary though. These will adhere beautifully. And unless you're picking a fabric that frays very easily, you will be fine. And if you're still nervous about a little fraying, this and that, just use a fabric adhesive, spray it, and secure it that way. Now you see we're starting to be able to move a little quicker because we've got some of these not moving on us. This is beautiful. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. And you can do this with any size heart. It doesn't have to be 12 by 12. It can be 5 by 5. It can be 6 by 6. It can be whatever you want. And get your fabric, your scraps out and go for it. This one is I'm gonna hang this on my door when I'm done with this at my home because this will look just adorable. Now you can see on the back, that's your stitching, how it's coming along. And once we go around here, then we can remove some pins. We can either come straight across like this and get these fabrics from one side to another and right smack in the middle. And we're almost done with this thread. I'm very anxious to start the village. I want to bring you along with me on that. That is that's going to be quite a creative process for me because I will be testing. I may do the testing before I get onto the camera. I will be testing different ways to make the houses, the village, the layout. And then when I have a better sense of what I'm doing with village, bring you along, but I don't want to kind of bring you in 10 different directions before I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to switch this needle out. This is my little, that's a little octopus that I crocheted that with, no, I'm sorry, this isn't crocheted. This is knitted with my loops and threads knitting machine. This one's a little better. It is a little thinner. We're getting to the end of it there. Well, I appreciate everyone being with me today. I hope this is helping you with your creativity and inspire you. It's like I said, the statistics show that most people think about making things, but only 10% go through with it. And that, it could be a lot of things. It could be just because we're so busy in our society nowadays. Most certainly could be. This is very nice here. You see, I kind of covered up this, but that's okay anyway. It really is. I mean, you're using up the scraps. Okay, now what I'm going to do is tighten this and we're going to get some more thread. But this thread got us from this. That's beautiful. And we're just gonna we can put a knot in it right away. Or what will happen when you leave it like this, right? This is an ancient way really of knotting with the sashiko thread. This is not it's a cotton thread. However, it's wound in a completely different way. So sashiko thread, they let the threads just kind of hang like that, right? So as you continue to do your sashiko stitching, this will knot up with your other running stitches. And what I always do is I don't put a tight knot at all. I put a very loose knot there. And the reason I don't put it tight is I put a very loose knot there. And the reason I don't put it tight is because just like with the sashiko stitching, they believe if you pull that tight, then it stresses on the fabric. So this would just leave it like that. And it can stay, have some length to it. I'm just going to take a little bit off there, and that's good. So we have a little knot in there, but it's not too tight. And usually what they do in sashiko is they take the needle and they, like a French knot, the wind it around and then pull it through. So you can do that too. There's a lot of different ways you can make a knot, and they're all acceptable. They're all fine. Okay. So I'm gonna put this coffee away over here. There's no coffee left, really. It's a good cup of coffee. Okay. So it's so nice being here at the Milton Artists Guild in Vermont. That's where I am at. And the sun is shining. See, look, you can see the windows. See, they've got this all decorated with hearts. There's hearts all over the place in here. And if you want a heart, this might be the place to come and get a heart for your special Valentine. And everything in here is handmade. It's artistic. I will check before some artists do not want their stuff on media, so I am waiting. I will check into all of that before we take a walk around. We won't do it today, but we will have a special. Let's see what we can do and to share. I'll share my table, and I would love to share the whole place with you. So, but this part, the window that you see behind me and sun shining today. Okay, so now we have more thread. We're going to put this down. And we're going to continue. I notice this one's going to fall right out of place, so I want to put a pin there. I want to get that pinned. I will be adding pins and taking pins out. Because if you have the whole thing pinned, it might be bulky for you to work on it going around. And you just want to make sure your stitches, you see how I pull the stitches, you want to make sure you're tightening them as you go along. See the back? And you check in your design as you go along. You may want to move things a tiny bit. That's okay. It's your piece. Nothing is set in stone. You can change it as you go along if you want to. Many times I get the energy flow and it feels good and I leave it and I know that it's done. Especially with quilts. Because quilts are like 40 by 40 inches typically that I make. And I don't say are bigger, but the energy flow I seem to get quicker. I seem to get better. Smaller pieces, I have to work a little bit more at the energy flow. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I'm limited with the amount of pieces that I have. So now we're here at the end of the heart, right here at the bottom. So you want to be careful that see this is overlapping. That's overlapping. You want to be careful here that you don't stitch here and the overlapped part because that part we're cutting off. And then what would happen is you would inadvertently accidentally cut your stitch. And I will tell you though, the nice thing about running stitches is if you cut your stitch, pull it back a few runs, tie your knot in the back, and then continue your running stitch from where you left off. Super duper easy. It's not like your typical machine stitch. It's different. It's easier. I just slowed down here, so I'm not doing several stitches at a time. I just want to slow down and make sure I'm doing that correctly. And you see how the fabric bunches when you're stitching. That's a given, but it is something you want to be mindful of. And, this is totally one of the original mindful stitches. I know they have coined slow stitching, but this is one of the original slow stitching. It's mindful, it's meditative, it's caring, it's mending, right? And the sashiko stitching. So we're doing our crazy quilt design with visible sashiko stitching. Yeah. See how that came apart there. That's okay. We're on a different side of the heart here. And this is a really tricky piece of fabric right here. Yeah. This is curling up right here. This is why the iron would be really good right there. But the stitches will also end up taking care of that pretty well. Whoops. That popped out. And that's a thin piece. We may end up stacking. We stack another piece on there. It may look like this. Yeah, that's nice. We'll put that, we might add that after, but we'll continue with this stitching first as we go along our edges. And we're gonna maybe have a little space there, but you see kind of that. All of these little kinks like that, those work out. Those will work out. If you let them stop you and you're trying to redo it completely because they're just shifting a little, it could just happen again. You know, they're going to shift because the fabric is moving. So, I mean, what we could do, because sometimes it is distracting that that's happening. So we can pin it. We can pin it. There. That's better. This piece was actually over that one, but that's okay. That's the shifting. And we're almost to the top. And as these pins are removed, it gets easier to do our stitching. And we can get more selective even. We can be like, okay, I'm going to do a French knot, or I'm going to do a cross or a check. Um, and whatever you decide to, or blanket stitch even, or chain stitch. You could do so many different types of stitches all within this piece. This is going to be really nice. You can use different textured fabrics. It doesn't have to be all cotton. These just happen to be. I didn't even really filter or sort these out. These just happen to be because I do have a lot of cotton. I seem to gravitate towards that and silky silk. I have a lot of sari that I've made blankets in the past out of, and we'll do that again because I make them and then I donate them, give them away. That's very typical of me to do that. So now we're at the end here, and I'm going to just do a super simple knot. I'm going to have it a little loose, and I'm going to leave that a little long so it works its way within the stitching that we're going to do. And then we just have, look, this and this for the edge. Not much. So this pin we can remove too. We had put it there, I think, because this is curling. But we can put that right here. And we're going to thread our next needle. Hopefully it goes in simpler. Simply. This is the kind of work you kind of do take breaks from, and but I tend to sit easily a couple of hours at a time. So that's why we're doing the live like this. Because if I needed to get up in an hour, then I would put the live off, but I don't. I can, as a matter of fact, 2 hours doing this for me is like 20 minutes. I felt like the first part of this was 20 minutes. And here we are. Um, and I think actually I have to watch the time. I'm looking for I don't have the correct time on the YouTube. It actually has some other countries' time. So I am going to check that. I can find my phone. Good thing we have a phone. So it's almost 1 o'clock already. So I'm anticipating that we're just about going to get time to sew on the machine. If we don't get to do the full sewing, we'll get to do some of it. So we'll continue here because after we get this outside and I go across a few times, then we're gonna start to move a little quicker. And that's not what this is really about, moving quickly. How however, being conscious of the time because I'm in another space today and I'm so happy to be here. I mean, people have come in and they come in, they're looking around. There's nobody in here right now, but people have come in and this place is really big. There's a lot of artist stuff here. I mean, it's big. And they have a nice little kitchen in the back for the artists. See, I brought my own coffee. I brought my own half and half cream, the creamers that are on the shelf. That's what I brought today because I've learned from raising kids, having a couple of jobs, and raising 3 children on my own that I need to have my coffee. I need to have a snack. So wherever I go, I make sure I have my creamer with me because without that, it tastes like coffee. So now what I'm going to do, and this is the beauty of the sashiko. I am not going to be so particular that I'm going to worry about going around in the shape of the heart because the stipple stitching is going to go all around. It's going to be crazy with the heart. However, I want to do some vertical, I want to do some horizontal, I want to get these pieces adhered. So this is what we're going to do. And I'm going to pull these pins as we go along and put them in the octopus is the little pin holder. And I'm just going to do this. Now, I am going to stay in fairly straight lines. I'm just doing running stitches. I could do seed stitching through this entire piece, and I would love it. Seed stitching is my favorite stitch. And just again to show you, this right here is seed stitching. It's so simplistic. It's just so humble, and it's just adorable. I just love it. And but I've chosen the running stitch because it just I want the stitches to be visible. And seed stitching will not be visible when we do free form machine stitching. It will just cover it up. I've done it, so I know it will cover it up. So we don't want that to happen. We want the stitches we're using on our heart to show. That's what we want. And Boro Sashiko, the Sashiko, the visible mending, that is the whole point of that. Started out of necessity and it ended up being a highly decorative form of stitching. It's a highly decorative form of stitching today in Japan. Now, people still do the free form, and they actually have a machine that does machine sashiko stitching. It is not straight. It is purposely crooked, purposely, because of the origin of the stitching. That's the origin. That's the authentic Boro. Oh, yelling again. They have a fan. When the fan goes off, I'm like yelling, so I apologize about that. have a big mouth anyway. Okay. So now we've gone down. Now we don't have to have the spacing between the vertical stitching does not have to be like a thumbnail. It can be like 3-4 inches. You can kind of go over because we're just trying to get it mostly adhered. So that's what we're going to do. And we can stitch our way over there because that's what we want to do is adhere these. Take our pins out as we go. Beautiful. Starting to come together. I will tell you the amount of time. Typically, you might spend easily a day for a piece of size, easily. For my 40 by 40 quilts, I could spend easily 3.5 weeks making those because of the detail that could go in them, and depending how much time I can put into them a day. And having said that, you can whip out a quilt depending if you want to do a minimalist design. You can whip a quilt out in a couple of days. Nowadays, they have on YouTube do a quilt in an hour. And that's a machine, traditional type of quilt, machine stitch. And you notice here with Sashiko, this stitch is a tiny bit longer. That's okay. You don't need to go back and try to make it the exact same size as that one. You can, the irregularities is all part of stitching. And of course, if you're using a grid and you want to make the stitches perfect, use a grid with the little dots and follow that. And that's a lot of fun too. Now I've done that. And that's fun. I mean, it's fun seeing it all come together. So you see this in real time. You see the time that it takes. Hello, how are you? That's good, pretty good. I am making a heart. It's going to be a quilted crazy quilt heart. 100%, recycled, zero tolerance for waste, using all recycled.
Great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Great idea. That's going to be beautiful.
I think crazy quilts are coming back. They
be.
They have to be. They were really hot in the 1950s. They started them in the early 1800s, and then they were hot again I'd say about 25, 30 years ago. I think they're coming back though.
I think that bohemian kind of mixture of looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it. I gotta
too.
tell you, I've done the traditional and I love it and appreciate it. But there's something about the visible stitching that it just makes it pop. There's just something, and the process of it. And of course, you've probably heard of slow stitching, right?
Yes.
They coined slow stitching, but it stems from Boro sashiko, or visible stitching, which is this.
That's what this is.
This is work in progress. Yeah. This sashiko stitching. So this is going to be when I'll put a lining on it. But see, this is your top layer. This is your base. And then you have your lining. So guess what? Now it's quilted. That's a quilted piece.
Right.
So in your hand stitching.
Stitching each one of those in.
Yeah. And I show you on,
But they They still have the raw edges?
They have the raw edges. And the beautiful thing about this, now you can fold them if you want to, but if you do, it's going to be a fourth layer for you. It's going to hurt your hands to go. So the Kawandi, I pulled from the Kawandi culture. I call it Kawandi inspired and or Boro inspired. And what you do is you leave your fabrics just like they do. Leave your fabrics raw. You're working with tightly woven cotton.
Right. So it's not gonna fray that
Yeah,
quickly.
and if it frays,
That's what I'm thinking about it. It's so much more creative than following a traditional pattern also, which is the part that I like. And I'm full of dog smell. I just was at the vet with my dog. And I have and I have dog treats.
Don't you
all
love
over
it?
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have found the right person to smell. Yes, you have. And I probably have them in my pocket.
And I think her name is it Kaya? Kaya.
Beautiful name. Hillary, my God,
Yeah.
it looks like you have your winter coat on.
She's
You
gorgeous.
are so beautiful. My goodness. I know I'm just a very big dog person, so people to see. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a good girl. Well, if you sew, you want to, my card is back there. You'll see the
Okay.
Boro hats. Grab a card and join. Like right now, I'm doing this live and I'm going to I show you how to, trim your edges and we're going to put it through the machine and do free form stitching. It's relaxing to not have to worry about the measuring. You know what I mean?
Do you?
You're using this stuff.
Do you look at your beautiful fabric?
These are from the thrift shop. And I will tell you, I
That's
would
a great
never pick
idea.
something out like
I know, but
that.
look how beautiful all the
Yeah,
colors are
and the same with
together.
that.
Oh,
They are. And someone sent me a box of it was a TikToker a while ago. She sent me a beautiful box of fabrics. She made masks and she's like, I'm not going to use these anymore. I'm like, so I'm still using those. Well, she knows the word treats.
of course, I think I have some crumbs. Would you like to try the crumbs? Yeah, they're Ruby's favorite. Yeah, well, come to find a little tiny picture.
Well, there's so much here. Oh,
Christmas on that.
well, you have a beautiful time. Oh, you are very welcome. You are welcome. Okay. So we are back um and being live here, doing this demo here at the Artist Guild, the whole point of it is when people come in and they have a question on something, I can talk to them and share and yeah, definitely inspire. That's important that we inspire each other. So I'm going to put this back down and we'll continue just stitching straight across. We're going to remove that pin. We're going to keep removing our pins. So we have a beautiful little dog in here named Kaya, who's kind of just walks around. She's a little mascot, kind of walks around. Very gentle, pretty little dog. Okay, and it came straight across here. And again, we're not going to do a really tight knot. We are going to do a nice loose knot, nice and loose like that. And then we're just going to clip a little. We're not clipping this right down to the knot. You do not want to do that, because if you do that, if you clip right down to the knot, what could happen is that knot could come undone. It could. And then your piece is in jeopardy a little bit. Then it starts to come loose. So you definitely want to leave some length to your thread and in the back like that. So, okay. Now we are going to, we're getting there. I'm going to stay with pink because I brought white and black. And I will tell you, the black, depending on the colors you're using and or the white, these two, this is classic. These will make a piece pop like you will not believe. Just gorgeous. Now, for the moment, though, I'm focusing on the pinks. So this is a light pink. This is a dark pink. That's what I'm going for right now. Stay in arm's length. And continuing in real time. This is the thing about lives. It's you can't jump ahead, right? You can come back later after it's recorded and just kind of zip through it. But okay, so we are going to, oh, gracias. Oh, you're very welcome, Joanna. Thank you. Thank you for being with me today. And Stephanie's art studio. Your heart is looking great. I love all the different patterns you're choosing. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. Yeah, the patterns they almost develop by themselves. Like as I was putting these petals together here and just started to naturally form like kind of a flower type shape. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep that. Actually, I want to tilt that a little bit and make sure I get my little flower shape there. But it's almost like these shapes start to they just like they take a life of their own on, just almost. And the same with the heart. Like I found a heart in the scrap. The same with the flower. It just made me think of more flowers. So, okay, we went across like a little bit across here. Now we're just going to go straight down. We're just trying to get more of these fabrics adhered. And so we can, and pretty soon, very shortly, now we're going to be able to put this into the machine and give you an idea. Now, there's two ways that you can do this. This can go into the machine. We can start stitching with a backing. And then the stipple stitches are going to go straight through to the back, to the top stitch, going to go to the back stitch. Or we can stitch it with this top layer to the base, and then we place it onto something. And I think that's what we're going to do. That's pretty much what I'm going to do. So, whoops, I moved this too much. So we just want to get it adhered a little bit more. Now I got to tell you too, I want to share with you too. Many years ago, okay, whoops, I'm going crooked on that way. So I meant to go straight down this way, but that's all right. I will just continue, and it's really okay. So many years ago, I was an activity director and did group activities. And something that we used to do, which very close around that time, I discovered Boro through my mom, who was doing a Boro piece. She was just an amazing artist, just doing hand stitching Boro pieces onto sweaters, and she would just do it. And I thought it was I just loved it. I fell in love with it, right? But when I was doing activities in a healthcare home, I was handing them blunt, like plastic blunt cross stitching needles, and just having them cross stitch through plastic, and just to keep their hands going, to be creative, to be making something, and to be part of the group. And it was beautiful. And when I look at Boro Sashiko here, I feel it's the same kind of creativity. It's the same kind. Anybody, I'm going to say anybody. If you can't hold a sharp needle, of course not. But basically, what I mean is beginners, intermediate sewers, or advanced sewers will get great inspiration out of sashiko stitching, and they can do it. A beginner sewer can do it. Someone who can't necessarily see really well or maybe they can't hold something really well. So they can put the piece down like this on the table, and they can work the piece, and they don't have to worry that it's straight. Seriously, that's what I love about free form sashiko stitching. It does not have to be straight. That's my favorite part of it. It's the humbleness, it's the beauty in the imperfection. Let's put it that way. And that is what it is. I got some needles I have to remove here. Even this, like I started going the wrong way, because I was talking. Talking. But yeah, so I'm gonna just check that. I just want to show you the back here. Okay. Now I'm just going to check my stitches. I think what I like to do is go up here. So I'm going to go across a little bit because I really want to start gathering. I want to get these tiny little pieces up here in the corner. And I'm coming back up. Like I said, there's no rules. Like you could go straight around this heart a number of times and adhere it that way, and then machine stitch, or you don't have to machine stitch at all. You can just do your hand stitching. And these tiny little pieces like this, you could do little seed stitches in there just to hold them down. So I'm not doing that today because of time, but if I was at home working on this and not even focusing on time. I mean, I'm not really focusing on time, but I am conscious of it today. So I want to be able to share these with you in this video if we can. And you notice I'm pulling more and more pins out. And not every single piece has to be completely stitched down. If you've got most of it down and it's just enough in place so you can actually navigate your sewing machine so that you can make your beautiful piece. That's the goal. sometimes I do the sashiko stitching and I'm like, oh my God, I just love it like that. And then I leave it. So now see, now I am lifting. I'm going to show you this. Now I'm lifting this piece up. This is closer to a professional sashiko stitching. You lift the piece up and then you do your several runs. And I don't feel like I have my sashiko needle with me, but and then you lift it up again. And really, because stitching is you're working the needle through the fabric. You are working with the fabric. That's why you don't have a hoop, because it's not stationary. You're kind of just working along. Set caught on a needle there. Pin. And it's the difference from embroidery, because embroidery uses a hoop. It's a completely different um, method. And Kawandi is different too. Kawandi is you if you're going to use I think if you're going to do techniques with Kawandi, you want to say Kawandi inspired. I don't know how many times I've said that, but it's so important, I think. Anyway, the word inspired. So okay. Now I'm going to turn up this way because there sideways, and I'm going to kind of do some free stitching, which means freeform stitching, which means I'm going to start doing going in other directions for a little bit. And just maybe following some of these patches to get some of my sashiko stitching on. And I know seamstress or sewist. I like the word sewist. Someone on TikTok uses the word sewist, and I looked it up, and it's actually the newest way to reference a seamster is the word sewist. I love that word. So, but so the beautiful thing about if you sashiko stitch this first, you have a little bit more what do I want to say, awareness of because as you're stitching and you come back around and you're flattening out your stitches in your pieces, and you see me kind of doing that right here, and it automatically takes care of any puckering. You're not worried about it. Now on your machine, you might want to use a which they're not expensive at all, is a denim needle for your machine. Now this denim, this is not a heavy duty, like we're not going to be sewing through seams. So I'm not too worried. I think the needle that I have is going to suffice. So now I'm hiding my heart there. I want to bring my heart out. And that's the other beauty of doing your sashiko stitching first, is that you are refining your design as you go along. You just are. It just gives you the opportunity to do that. So this is beautiful, actually. This is going to be quite nice. And we're almost ready to get our machine out and sew. I mean, I have it out already. So I'm just going to test this and see if we need a few more stitches. And that's kind of hanging like that, but that's okay. I could put a let's see, over here I have a little heart kind of. Yeah, I kind of want to get maybe one row here, and then we will start our machine stitching. And we're just about going to make it today, which I'm happy about. Hello, little Kaya. You being a good girl? That's a little mascot doggy around here. She's she likes to socialize. So okay. We have this. Okay. And we'll do one more Sashiko stitch this way, see if there's any questions. No, okay. Oh, I'm so happy that Stephanie and Joanna joined me. I'm so happy. I'm used to people joining me. So okay. So we'll put this back down and we're gonna go up start over here. And I'm not trimming my edges yet. I want to get a few stipple stitches around inside this heart before I do that. And you see it push the needle through with Sashiko stitching. There. I'm going to take the needle out. Kind of hard to go a straight line of this heart here. I want to be able to go through this heart. And I had for a long time, I did classes on the needle felting. I did on the wet felting, did on the wet felting, crochet, and you're talking like 25 years ago. Seriously, I was doing pictures in with wet felting and used fabrics then. And I had given a few classes on it over at the library, and then I shied away from it, and I'm becoming now open to it again, like to groups and stuff like that. I think it would be nice to share because I think, whoopsie, I'm going this way, which is okay because actually that's kind of what I started to do was I was going to do free form stitching because I want to get certain fabrics that are just kind of in limbo there. You see how our mind works? I went automatically around the edge of this heart. Our mind wants the order, but the free form Sashiko stitching says, no, you got to go different direction. Worry about it. The goal is to mend these fabrics. And take this out, put that in my little octopus pin holder. Here. We are getting close to the end. Because when you get this far, you get this far with your heart or your project. To me, the freeform stitching on the machine is just so much fun. It really is. So I want to get these sewn down. Hope you can still see this. Yeah. And you can see I did not worry about being in a straight line. I did do some straight lines, but I'm totally not worried about that. That's not the domineering part of the design. It's quite the opposite. Okay, so this is very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my machine over here because I do want to be able to complete this, at least for the most part. If I want to come back around and make this fancy, you know what I mean, tighten it up a little bit or refine it, I can. So let's see. What I'm going to do is move my machine. Now the camera is in back of the machine. It's in back of it. And I plugged everything in, so I'm ready. I'm just gonna move this over to the side and let's just get this. My machine. I think gonna, that's probably as good as we're gonna get right now. I think you'll get the gist of it. And hopefully I have enough of my bobbin. Yeah, I should. And hopefully we can get moving here. So let's see. Yeah, you can see here. So now you can see, first of all, let me just show you. I did not do tons of stitching. I'm going to turn this around first. See, you can see in the back, there's not tons of stitching. There's just enough to hold everything in place. So we're going to start our machine freeform stitching. And the way I do it is I do a few straight lines first, and then I will start going in circles as I do. I'm a great one for going in circles. Can't reach my pedal good. Hold on here. There we go. I get this pin out. And I'm just turning it. My eye is just catching where the fabric is kind of loose, and that's what I want. And I'm going to come back. I'll be coming back around over and over, repeating. Now they say the turning like that is hard on the needle, but I have not had that experience. I'm going to lift that up because I have a tiny little piece there that we need to make sure we get. You notice some of these scrap pieces had very sharp corners. Those you can clip and make a little blunt to make the sewing a little easier, or just slow down and catch that corner. You're going to see the effect of this change with the sewing. So, sewing machine. Now, we have a lot of sewing still to do here. And but what we're going to do is now that we have these pieces more adhered, we're going to flip the heart over and we are now going, I'm going to put this down. We are now going to trim our edges and then we're coming back and I want to show you before we go back what this back part looks like and because I want to give you an idea on the amount of stipple stitching that you could be doing easily to create your free-formed machine stitched piece. So I'm going to trim these and I may come back around and have to trim this again, but I'm just starting the trim. It's keeping to the shape of the part. And I just love doing this. I just love seeing the outcome. I mean, it's just so rewarding because let's see, I got that little piece of thread there. I'm pulling that over here. And that I want to show you also how the freeform machine stitching grabs the sashiko stitches. You can see the difference, what this looks like on the other side in about 2 seconds, how it's coming together. There. Okay. Oh, look at this. Look at that. Look at that. I'm gonna put that up. I just can't, I just get so I love color anyway. So this isn't even done yet. So we're going to finish this. Now look at the back. This is the stipple stitching that we've just begun. Now, if you want to put more sashiko stitching, you want to use different if we had more time, I would definitely use black thread to kind of pop some sashiko stitching here. But what we're going to do is finish this quilting with the sewing machine free stitching right now. Now we can actually go a little bit faster because guess what? We have our defined form or defined heart. So I'm going to pull this over and we will continue. And what I'm doing is I'm focusing on these pieces that are sticking up, they're not sewn down. So here we go. And I'll be going along the edges too. Okay. So we got a little bit more done, and we're going to, I just wanted to kind of take a look at that, see what was making the machine kind of stop for a minute. I guess it's okay. Let's continue, and we're almost done. Hey, Kaya. He's going there. And we're not done yet, but I want to show you how much more stitching is on the back. Now, how do you know when you're done? When every single piece is firmly in place or sewn down. So, this piece is still sticking up. You see that? And there's a number of pieces still sticking up a little bit. Let's see what time it is. I can't tell on my must be on here. I don't see a clock up here. 1:39. Okay. So we're going to take the next 10 minutes to continue sewing so you can see the complete piece because it is almost done. So I am looking very specifically for the spots that are not sewn down. And the spots that are sewn, if I go over those, that's okay. And I'm not using a specific pattern. I'm doing free form stitching. So I'm going where my eye wants to catch, wants the stitches to catch and adhere. Whoops, I have a flea. I can fix this without. Okay, the bobbin ran out. So this is I'm just going to show you the back so you have an idea on just how much free-form stitching is, in case you're trying to give yourself permission. You can do a lot of free-form stitching. It's okay. Look how beautiful this is. So there's still some pieces that I will be going over, but look how beautiful that came out. Um, so the bobbin ran out and anyway, this is probably I will be doing, well, it will look like, see how full this is. Let's see if you can see. It's orange on the brown. So I'll be doing a little bit more here. Not too much more. This is just about done. I hope that you enjoyed this live and demo here from the Milton Artists Guild. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And the backing, this will be going, let's just see how it looks on here for the heck of it. It's not done. I have to do more sewing. However, I would like to put it on the back. I would like to put it on this for backing. Look how beautiful that is. See the back light color lets all the other colors pop. So anyway, thank you so much for being with me today. I enjoy your comments. I enjoy your company. And I appreciate you. You have a beautiful day. And remember, I was at the Milton Artists Guild. Have a beautiful, beautiful Friday.